In the summer of 1666, the geography was the prison. 500 kilometers from his allies in Maharashtra, Shivaji found himself surrounded by a military presence of 100,000 imperial soldiers. This was the position of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. He was held in Agra, the heavily fortified heart of the Mughal Empire, ruled by Aurangzeb. The sheer volume of elite guards made any attempt at a forced exit a suicide mission. The standing orders were clear. If the prisoner moved to escape, the guards were to execute him immediately. Direct combat was impossible. If Shivaji was to leave this city alive, he would have to use a method that bypassed the soldiers' weapons entirely. The situation began with a diplomatic visit. Following the Treaty of Purandar, Shivaji and his young son, Sambhaji, traveled to the Mughal court under a guarantee of safety. But during the public audience, Emperor Aurangzeb offered a calculated insult. He forced the Maratha King to stand in the back row of the court. Behind lower-ranking generals Shivaji had already defeated on the battlefield. Shivaji did not bow. Instead, he openly protested the seating arrangement, turned his back on the throne, and walked out, a move that was technically a capital offense in the presence of the emperor. Aurangzeb responded by placing Shivaji under house arrest. He surrounded the mansion with 3 concentric layers of guards, creating a human barrier designed to prevent any possible Maratha rescue or escape. Trapped inside this triple-layered perimeter, Shivaji and his son were effectively dead men. Their only hope was to find a way past the elite security without alerting a single guard. Inside the mansion, the pressure mounted quickly. Intelligence reports suggested Emperor Aurangzeb was deciding between a quiet poisoning or a forced exile to the brutal battlefields of Afghanistan. Faced with these options, Shivaji changed his behavior. He stopped acting like a warrior and started acting like a man who accepted his fate. He claimed to be suffering from a severe, debilitating illness. He began to focus exclusively on religious charity, requesting permission to send gifts to the local holy men of Agra to pray for his recovery. The requests were specific. Every day, massive bamboo baskets filled with sweets and fruit were to be carried out of the house and delivered to temples across the city. By appearing to surrender his political ambitions for religious ones, Shivaji began the first phase of a calculated move to lower the guards' alertness. Initially, the security was airtight. Under the command of Kotwal Falad Khan, the guards thoroughly inspected every single delivery, even stabbing their swords deep into the baskets to ensure nothing was hidden inside. This chart tracks habituation, the brain's tendency to ignore repetitive, non-threatening events. By sending dozens of baskets every single day for weeks, Shivaji turned potential escape vehicles into a boring, predictable part of the guards' environment. The extreme heat and the sheer repetition of the task took their toll. Because the baskets only ever contained food, the guards began to associate the deliveries with safety rather than risk. Strict military protocols eventually dissolved into casual glances. The guards grew tired of inspecting the same bamboo containers that never held anything suspicious. Without striking a single blow, Shivaji had bypassed the layered security detail. The hundreds of armed men at the gates were still there, but as far as the baskets were concerned, they were no longer an obstacle. On August 17, 1666, the plan moved into its final stage. To further decrease the number of people inside the house, Shivaji had already sent his non-essential soldiers back home to Maharashtra. Inside the room, a loyal servant named Hiroji Farzan took Shivaji's place in the bed. He left one arm exposed, wearing the king's royal signet ring, to fool any guard who looked through the window. Shivaji and his young son climbed into 2 of the emptied bamboo baskets. The servants carried the heavy baskets right past the 3 layers of guards. Conditioned by weeks of identical routines, the sentries at the front gate didn't bother to look inside. They simply let the deliveries pass. The most secure prison in the Mughal Empire had been defeated by making the escape look like a routine chore. Once clear of the city, Shivaji and Sambhaji disguised themselves as wandering ascetics and disappeared. Back at the mansion, Hiroji stayed in the bed for several more hours before walking out and telling the guards he was going to buy medicine. When the guards finally checked the room, they found it empty. The report reached Aurangzeb, who realized his massive administrative and military apparatus had been outmaneuvered by a single man's understanding of human routine. To avoid the search parties, Shivaji took a long, circuitous route. He headed north and east through Mathura and Kashi, traveling nearly 1,000 kilometers in disguise before finally turning south toward his own territory. He arrived safely at Rajgad, returning to the Maratha homeland after an exigent journey that many had considered impossible. This victory showed that the empire's vast military structure could be circumvented through the study of human habit. Shivaji had exited the most heavily guarded city in India using the very systems meant to keep him there.